Hey everybody, this is Greg Petix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the Petixonian Institute of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Heroes Inc. presents Canon. This is the first issue of Heroes Inc. in 1969. The second one wouldn't appear till like 1976, and it was more of a fanzine, a magazine-sized fanzine type thing. But this was an interesting attempt by Wally Wood, who's the main creator of this comic. He was trying to start like his own comic company. It's full color. It's got some superheroes in it. But mainly this was directed at U.S. servicemen. Wally Wood figured he had already drawn Sally Forth, a comic strip for the Overseas Weekly, which was the military paper. And he cultivated an adult audience from that. So he figured, I'm going to start my own comic. It looks like these were distributed through PX spaces. And that's a lot of business throughout America and the rest of the world. So it was probably kind of a good idea. Also an interesting idea to let comics be more adult. There was no pretense that these comics were for kids. The main audience was soldiers, adult soldiers. So as you can see, there's a little more cleavage, and it's a little more violent than your average mainstream comic. But it's also, there's no nudity, no full-on gore. It was still like a comic. It wasn't X-rated. So yeah, this comes out in 1969. I kind of wish this was successful. I love the idea of Wally Wood basically doing what Image Comics did like over 20 years earlier. Just starting his own thing. This is, it's 15 cents. Comics at the time were 12 cents. But this has it has less ads than your average comic at the time, so it wasn't that expensive, It's full color, and there's no Comics Code Authority, as you can see, which was very strange back then. All comics had to have that. Because, like I said, this had its own weird distribution thing to servicemen. So, great first cover. It shows all the features that are going to be in this. Let's crack it open, shall we? As we'll see in these ads, there's no ads for Onion Gum or Sea Monkeys. These ads are directed towards adult men in the military. So this is just like, this sounds like a scam, some kind of land thing, Own your own acreage in the heart of the West, 35 cents a day. Who knows? Maybe it was real. So our first story is Canon. And the art is by Ditko and Wood. I assume, Steve Ditko's doing the layouts or in pencils, and Wally Wood is heavily inking it, so it looks pretty Wally Wood-esque. The story starts off, it's a top secret U.S. development center, and these Asian communists, they're unnamed. They kill everyone in the base except for this woman. And the reason why she's kept alive is because she was the main assistant. Her name is Jean Voss. She was the main assistant for this Dr. Isaacs fellow, who had the ultimate anti-missile defense system on the blueprints. He was developing that. So they're like, holy shit, this is a terrible situation. What do we do? This is like the top brass of the U.S. military. They're like, we got to call in Canon. So Canon, I guess, is their like top secret agent. We get the origin of Canon here. He was captured by the Reds, and they gave him a complete brainwashing. He returned to the States with an assignment to assassinate top scientists. But fortunately, the CIA stopped him. They had his picture, and they knew who to look for. And they couldn't undo the brainwashing project, process. So they did this experiment where they totally reconditioned his brain. And it turned him into something more and less than human. He had a man with no emotions. So the Canon isn't brainwashed by the Reds anymore. You could say he's brainwashed by the West now, but because he works for the military. And but he has no emotions, so he's kind of a weird character. So under Canon's command, they have a full military attack of this base in the Yucatan, where these Asian communists have a hold up. And Cannon infiltrates their base. Oh, I just want to say first, though, if you can see here, this is kind of interesting. See how there's no captions in here? There's a one little word balloon. This would never happen in a Marvel DC comic. The editor or writer would have slapped some stupid caption explaining what's going on in these panels. But, you know, Wally Wood was an artist and writer. So he's just like, no, the art sells the story just fine. There's no need for some stupid caption. So that's kind of interesting. You rarely saw this in a mainstream comic at the time. Just panels, silent panels, kind of cinematically conveying the plot. So here he is. He's infiltrating the base. And the weird thing in this story is that his mission is, it's not to rescue Jean Voss. It's to kill her. The military's just like, yeah, you got to kill her before she spills the beans on that anti-missile defense system. They don't even say, like, try to save her, and if you can't. It's just like, so he's on a mission to kill this, you know, American woman whose only crime was that she's got too much knowledge that the enemy's going to get from her. So once again, we see the silent panels. A sound effect here and there. But there's no need. This is what comic artists learned, I guess, 20 years later. You know, they finally realized, no, you don't have to have, you can have silent, just cinematically show action happening. You don't have to have stupid captions in every panel. So he's, you know, making his way, kicking ass, trying to find this Jean Voss character. And he's also planting all these bombs on the base. And yeah, just great to go fighting. It was so great at illustrating fight scenes. So someone pulls the alarm, so now he's just in a hurry. He's going to drop as many bombs as he can, kill as many guys as he can. But then Jean Voss shows up. And because this is a non-code approved comic, she is fallen out of her dress. So it turns out that she was, they gave her truth serum, and she told everything. So Cannon realizes there's no point in killing her now. She already spilled the beans. So he puts his jetpack on her that he was going to use to escape. And then before he does, though, he says, I got to put this bomb on you. If they miss you on the first pass, the plane that's going to pick you up, I'm going to have to detonate it and kill you. Very strange how they just really don't care about this woman's life at all. So, you know, she's launched into space. This jet kind of hooks her, picks her up, and rescues her. But then Cannon realizes he's got to take care of everyone in this fucking base because the secret's out. She spilled the beans. But the military, you know, they're just like, we're going to have to order an atomic attack. Because, you know, Cannon's probably going to just get shot anyway. He can't go up against the whole base. Or can he? So we have all this great action, military-type action. He gets in a tank. He's gets in one of their experimental planes after wrecking the other ones. He wrecks every other plane in the hangar. And wouldn't you know it, this plane is loaded with a nuclear bomb. So he gets in the sky, and he destroys the base with a nuclear bomb and flies away safely. That's quite a panel. So then these general guys, these military guys in America are just like, holy shit, he took on a whole base by himself and, you know, nuked them all. That guy's fucking amazing. And then the woman back at the, you know, back in safety, Jean Voss, goes to give him a hug. She's like, I could just kiss you. And Cannon, we see like how Cannon is so weird. He just like pulls her arms off of him and says, must make report. And that's Cannon's thing. He's got no emotions. So it just seems like it would be a hard character to keep writing about. It wouldn't be very interesting. He's just kind of a blank slate. More ads showing that this was for the military. These are PSAs, it looks like. They didn't get any money for that. This next comic is Wally Wood, inked by Ralph Reese, his longtime assistant. And this is I like this comic a lot. This is definitely looks more Wally Wood because Ralph Reese was kind of an acolyte of Wally Wood, so he's inking it in Wally Wood's own style. We can see here very wood-like, this alien planet, or that could just be the moon. I'm not even sure. So it turns out these astronomers see that there's a new planet in the solar system just popped up, and everyone's freaking out. And whenever our planes go up to like see what it is, they just instantly get blown up. And the ship arrives to Earth. And this is a weird panel. So this guy's all white. He's like, but when he comes out of the ship, a reporter says, "A man just emerged from the ship. Hey, it's a white man." And then someone else says, "Well, that's a good sign anyway. Try to talk to him." And the guy's like, "No, I mean white." So it's a weird little comment on racial relations at the time, where as long as the alien was white, they'd be like, "Oh, he's probably friendly." So this guy's not communicating with anyone. And all of a sudden, the whole area is sealed off by this opaque luminosity. Just this bubble. And no one can, like, radio in, and there's no visibility. So now we, kind of a weird time, but we have a flashback all of a sudden. And we see this woman. She's in New Chicago, because this is in the future. And she apparently pulled a bank heist, but has no memory of doing it. And they realize that she has some kind of power to coerce people to do things, like a telepath. Because it's like, there's no way they would have just handed her the money. And that's the only way she could have gotten it. So I don't know why, but for some reason this guy says, "We can't let you go, and we can't keep you. You're a potential threat." So they put her in this special project, a government project, Operation Misfit. And she sees another member of Operation Misfit, this little alien guy named Shag. And he's a telepath. So he starts communicating with her from his cell. And he's actually going to come meet her through the gas vents. And there's some beautiful Wally Wood drawing. It's such a treat getting to see this stuff. I mean, it's kind of a shame this comic didn't take off, just having Wally Wood behind it. And there's some kind of a commotion happening. And so they're like, this is the perfect chance for us to escape. She convinces the guard to open her door just by saying, "Guard, open the door." And he does. She does have this power to coerce people. So then all of a sudden, this guy pops up. His name's Glom. And he's very strong, but not very intelligent. So she calms him down with her telepathy. She says, "We're your friends." And but then because of that, the guards surround him, and their escape attempt is foiled. But now we come back to the present, and that little opaque luminosity bubble that the alien made, it's growing. It's encompassing more land. So there's a hasty conference of government leaders, and they're like, "Okay, we just got to nuke it. We got no choice." That seems to be the solution in a lot of these comics. Like, nuclear bombs are just used willy-nilly. They're just like, "Hey, there's a problem. Send some atom bombs at it." Before they can even, the jets can even get to the glowing thing, their atom bombs blow up in flight. So this guy's all powerful, this alien. So they're like, "Hey, maybe we'll send in Misfits Inc." So the bubble starts getting closer to where the Misfits Inc. headquarters is, and all the normal humans there become like zombies. And they just start walking towards this area. She's immune to it. Shag is semi-immune to it. He's just like, "I can barely move, this mental force." But she helps him overcome it. Glom is totally overwhelmed by it. He can't even move. So she figures that because she's a synthezoid, she's like it turns out the reason she has her powers, I should have mentioned this earlier, is that she's a artificial human being. I don't see how they wouldn't know that from the first time she got there, that quickly. And Glom is a mutant. From the time he was a baby, they mutated him so he could be strong enough and dense enough to visit Jupiter. So she runs off by herself to confront this white alien. And she sees that all the mind-controlled humans and even the robots are building something for the alien. So, yeah, that's a great panel there. Look at that. With the zipper tone, and that's just beautiful Wally Wood shit. So she confronts the alien, and they kind of have a mental duel. And this has some kind of cool, groovy art here. But then, by fighting this guy, Kalam and Shag are freed from their mental control. So they run off to help her. This is some fun action stuff here. Glom is pretty is pretty fun. They have to fight their way through all these robots, and Glom's just having a great time, just smashing the shit out of them. Shag is helping with some kind of laser cannon. And it looks like, as we flash back and forth, we see that Mistra, the android, she's losing the battle. She's weakening. And there we see this pictorially. And Shag says, "Throw me towards them. Is there only hope?" And Glom just takes Shag and throws him. I just love that 2 panels there. And Shag sneaks in. The alien's about to do like the killing blow. Mister can barely, take it anymore. He just grabs a pipe or something and crunch, and bashes his head in and kills him. So she says, seeing inside his brain, their planet is a total machine. It's a hollow planet filled with machinery, and it's just driven through space by giant rocket motors. And there's millions of these guys. So she says, just one of them nearly conquered Earth, and there's millions of them waiting. There's a planet full of them out there. So it ends on a tentative note it's ominous. They got a big job ahead of them. And 3 misfits, an android, an alien, and a mutant, prepare to face an ominous future. Man, I want to read more of this. I don't have the 2nd issue, unfortunately. And I wish I did, just so I could read more about Misfits Inc. Here's a little editorial page with all this Wally Wood art around it. And he's basically asking the reader, what do you want to see in this magazine? Would you like to see more humor? Would you like to see more things about military subjects? And the address is Armed Force Distribution. So it really does seem like this comic was like kind of produced by the military almost, even though Wally Wood self-published it. So Dragonella is the last story in this comic. It's a kind of a comedy. Wally Wood tried to be like, Harvey Kurtzman Mads. The script is co-written by Ron White. I looked up Ron White. I guess he was a very accomplished playwright. He did lots of theater, was very well known in the 70s and 80s. And somehow Wally Wood hooked up with this guy to help him write this kind of funny story. Here we go, Wally Wood at his finest, drawing just a bodacious babe with her breast totally falling out. And it's kind of like a retelling of a fable, like Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty. And the evil queen says, "Get this brat out of here," to her assistant Freeb. Elsprague de Freeb. And, but then this dragon comes along. His name is St. George. He finds him. He's a little kid dragon, so he takes him home to his parents. He says, "Can we keep him?" So Dragonella grows up with this dragon family. And the whole time, St. George is just always hitting on her. It's like, "Let's play spin the bottle. Let's play post office." But she always keeps him away and says, "You're slimy." So when she gets older, she's an adult now, as we can tell by her cleavage. She says goodbye. She says, "I'm off to see the world." But St. George insists that he accompanies her. And the humor in this is very like trying to be like old school Mad, some bad puns, just that zany sense of humor. And I guess, it's not that bad. It's kind of funny. I'm sure if I was, younger too, I might think it's funny. Then we see this like typical prince, a heroic prince, and he's always having to run. He's always on the run because he's so handsome. All these maidens are always chasing him around. And then Freeb is still around. He's in business for himself now. And he looks through his crystal ball and sees that Dragonella's all grown up. And for some reason, he's like, I will send her a boyfriend. And he sends this weird guy, a middle-aged lust monster. But the witch earlier on, with her crystal ball, the fortune teller, told her that you might have to like kiss your prince. You know, he'll be disguised, like that old, Frog and the Prince thing. So even though this guy, she's not into him, and he's leching after her, she's like, oh, but I gotta kiss him to see if maybe he'll turn into a prince. He doesn't, and she's disgusted. She's gagging just from kissing this guy. So then the prince is on his way. He mistakes her dragon friend St. George as a threat and starts beating him up. And then he's going to kiss her. And St. George has had enough of it. He already got beat up by the guy. Now he's trying to make time with the girl he likes. So then Phoebe shows up. And is there no end to his evil intrigues, the caption says? And he answers it, no, there isn't. So it's like, it's that kind of, breaking the fourth wall humor. And we get to see some beautiful Wally Wood. He summons all these barbarians and Visigoths to attack the prince and Dragonella and St. George the Dragon. So they're fighting him off. And now they're all made up because the prince helped, save their lives. The women show up again, all the maidens. And Dragonella and St. George just walk off. But not before she kisses him and says, oh, all this time, maybe he was the prince in disguise. But nope, once again, she ends up gagging and probably almost puking. And they walk off together, and he is still in his thoughts, planning to make time with Dragonella. He's still in love with her. She could care less. And then we have salute to a Medal of Honor winner, and to appeal to the military audience once again. And so that's it. Heroes Inc. 1969. Very interesting comic, just for the publication notes about it. I kind of wish it took off. It would have been nice to have had another, comic company back then. But I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.